Okay. All right. Welcome to the Craig Mack Jason Success Show. The gentleman I have on the phone on the screen with me right now, he is he's a former NBA player. He is a member of the Motivational Speakers Hall of Fame, an entrepreneur, a development coach, a husband, and father. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Walter Bond. Walter, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
uh, well, so let's tell me something. What made you decide to become a motivational speaker?
Great question. Lack is the mother of invention.
Mm,
You know, I
hmm
got a chance to play pro basketball for 8 years. I got a chance to broadcast for two.
mm,
Played for the Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons, Dallas Mavericks, and then I got hired by the Timberwolves to broadcast. So had a 10-year run in professional sports
okay.
and didn't want to keep doing it, but I needed to provide for my family.
hmm
And ironically, my college basketball coach recommended it. I played for a guy named Clem Haskins. And when I
hmm
left the University of Minnesota, he was like, son, you should be a motivational speaker. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And I didn't know it was an industry. I knew who Les Brown was, but I didn't know much about it. And so 10 years later, Craig, when my wife and I was sitting around trying to figure out what is life after basketball going to look like, and I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, I remember what my coach said. And I went to my wife, who grew up in Miami, and she remembers Les Brown because he's from Miami.
hmm
And I was like, how about being a motivational speaker? And it agreed with her. She was like, you know what? That's a great idea. And that's how we got into it. It was my coach's idea.
hmm
And when we needed some money after basketball was over, that was the impetus for us to do it.
Mm. So, what I try to do with this podcast is I try to expose my audiences to different uh, business opportunities, and I bring different people in from different backgrounds and different industries. And what I want to do is, what I try to do is give them ideas of how they can get started. So I know by you being a former NBA player, that kind of paved the way or made it a little bit easier to get into that industry because you had that credibility behind you, and you had the great stories as well as far as what motivated you to become about. But do you have to be a celebrity or a professional athlete to become a motivational speaker?
Craig, that's a great question. The answer is emphatically no. And to
Mm,
your point, it does help. I'm not gonna lie about that, but I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and there's only a handful of athletes who are members, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of motivational speakers,
okay.
business advisors, coaches, and I can count pro athletes on one hand.
Okay.
Um, and so the answer is no. And so a lot of times people talk themselves out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk people into it in our coaching program. We have a couple former Division I athletes who didn't even play pro ball. And we have a whole lot of regular Joes that were
Mm-hmm.
pharmaceutical sales reps, HR professionals, and had this passion and vision to speak. They signed up for our coaching program and we took them from part-time to full-time. They look
Wow.
back at us like, oh my God, I never thought I could make this kind of money. I just closed a $20,000 deal. Man, I just signed a keynote. I did a virtual for $5,000. This is crazy, right?
Wow.
But they got into the coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of gave them our system, and it didn't have to be that you play in NBA or NFL. I mean, if you have a story to tell, you know what? You can go be a motivational speaker, and you have to have a heart to help people, though. It can't
Yes.
just be about you trying to make money. But if you have a heart to help people and you love telling a story, motivational speaking is the best industry there is.
Wow. Okay. All right. So it started to show out with all of the roles that you have. How do you balance all of that, Walter?
Well, I mean, it's a full-time job, and it's my wife and I, we founded this, but we have about 8 people that work for us.
Okay.
Some of them are full-time, some of them are part-time, but we delegate. And I tell all of my business clients, and we do a lot of coaching and consulting.
hmm
We have big clients like Jersey Mike Subs, Choctaw Casino. I mean, we're doing like high-end work for
hmm
companies and organizations that really are trying to energize their culture.
hmm
And so, we really delegate responsibly. And being an athlete, I can only play my game, but I trust my teammates, right? And so
Right.
I tell all of my business leaders, if you want to grow a successful business, only do that which only you can do and
Mm,
delegate everything else. And so,
mm,
as a speaker and a business coach all day long, Craig, I'm either keynoting a conference or coaching a client or doing a podcast, honestly,
mhm,
because only I can do that. We have other people who worry about the website. We have other people who handle social media. We have other
mm,
people who edit our videos. You know, my wife runs the office. I don't even negotiate contracts. You know, I only do that which only I can do. You know, we're
right.
coaching a guy right now who's a top sales rep for a company. And until last year, a guy passed him by and he signed up for our coaching program and he's pissed. I mean, he was number one sales rep
Mm,
for a company, Fast Signs. You know, Fast Signs, everybody's heard of Fast Signs.
mm,
And now he's like number two or three. And in our coaching session, we was like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, man, I want to be number one. I got to claim my spot as number one. Come to find out he was doing all this clerical work. He
mm,
was doing all this office work. And we was
mm,
like, dude, you make a bunch of money. You know, you can hire people to do the admin stuff. You need to be in the market selling all day.
mhm,
If you just get back into the market and sell all day, let somebody else do your invoices. Let
right.
somebody else do all the other menial tasks. Because if you want to reclaim that spot as number one, I think cooks should cook all day. I think
Mhm,
lawyers should charge people all day. And if you're going
mhm,
to be a top sales rep, you need to sell all day. And that
right,
was like our first coaching session.
right. Wow.
And all of a sudden, after one coaching session, he's like, "Bro, man,
You took what you gave him and implemented it. There you
session
go.
number one. We're talking section number one. We've
Mm,
had people stay with us for 12 months and double their salary.
wow.
So we have a whole methodology, we have a whole system. It's common sense, but sometimes common sense ain't common. But sometimes you're such in your own world,
Mhm,
can't really see what's happening. And so sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes to
right,
come in and just say, hey, tell me what's going on, how you're operating. It's like going to the doctor. You know, the doctor
right,
will ask you, what's wrong? Well, I got a scratchy throat. I got a
right,
little fever. You know, I get cold at night. Well, hey, man, you got shingles. And the doctor should be able to say, look, I know exactly what's wrong. You know,
right,
you got hepatitis, or you got a good doctor should be able to hear the symptoms and diagnose you right away and then give you a prescription to get better. That's what we
right.
do as business coaches. We've been doing this for 23 years. People come in, tell us what's wrong. And all of a sudden, we instantly diagnose it. Then
Mhm.
we give them a prescription. If they follow the prescription, they'll get the result they want.
Wow. So, a couple of things that I pulled out of what you just said. One, the whole you use some of your transferable skills as as a basketball player, as a teammate. Because I played ball
Yes,
too in high school, but
you did. You did. I remember Mendel High School.
that's
Absolutely, man.
right. And so you used that teammate mindset to, like you said, trust your teammates, delegate, right? And then you also became a consultant and were able to look at the big picture of somebody. Because sometimes when you get involved in stuff or your job or your career or whatever, you get so much into the weeds sometimes that you need someone to kind of take a step back for you to figure it out how you can get to the next level, right? But
Right.
okay. All right, so let's get into this event that you have
So
coming up,
wait.
man.
Let me riff on that a little bit, Craig,
Okay.
because
All
you'll
right.
identify with this, and then we're going to talk about the event
Okay.
and why we're doing it and who it's for.
Okay.
The one thing that I learned, and you learned this as well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on my way to the NBA, Craig, it became obvious to me the key to becoming elite is a simple formula,
Mm,
right? And I tell college athletes and people who play Division I ball look at me and say, "Man, well, I didn't play in the NBA, so like, dude, only 2% of high school athletes actually get a college scholarship.
mm-hmm.
So even if you play Division I ball,
Mm-hmm.
you are already a hero
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard to get a college scholarship to play sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing we learn is that every great player is connected to a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what I just said. I'm talking every great player
True that.
is always connected to a great coach. So the first thing I learned on my research to the NBA, it's impossible to reach your potential without a coach.
Mm,
And meanwhile, in the business world, The fastest rising segment of training and development is executive coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Every executive gets a budget to hire their own professional coach. But
Really?
here's the truth. Yes, absolutely. That's part of the package now
I did
because people
not know
understand how
that.
important coaching is.
I just learned something new. Wow.
So that middle manager doesn't have a coach. That entry level employee does not have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that VP doesn't have a coach.
Mm.
But the truth is, hear what I just said. It's impossible to reach your potential without a coach. So if your CEO has a coach,
Right.
duh,
Right.
you should have a coach. And so when I left sports, Craig, I got a chance to play for Jerry Sloan. My
Mm-hmm.
God, Hall of
Yeah.
Fame coach.
Yes,
I played
sir.
for Clem Haskins,
Yes, sir.
a great college coach, right? My high
Mm-hmm.
school coach was a very good high school coach, Donald Russell. And so my
Mm-hmm.
whole career was predicated on coaching. And it helped
Right.
me become the best version of me. So the smartest thing we did, Craig, when we left sports, my wife hired me a coach.
Hmm.
I had a business coach from day one, and literally in 3 years, we doubled our MBA income. And
Wow.
so coaching is something a lot of professionals don't think about. And here's the truth. You can only get so far on your own.
That's
And I'm gonna
true.
give you another analogy, and then we're gonna talk about this event.
Mm-hmm.
I keynoted Planet Fitness.
Okay.
I was their opening keynote speaker. And in my pre-event call, I found out now every health club has this same dynamic. January 1, their memberships are at an all-time high. Why?
Mm-hmm.
New Year's resolutions.
Right.
Everybody wants to get in shape. So they
Right.
join the health club. And by March 1st, they're back at the normal numbers. And here's why. Well-meaning people try and get in shape on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lost 40 pounds. Why? Because of a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I have a personal trainer every morning at 7 a.m. He kicks my butt. And my son goes, Dad, you play in the NBA. You don't need a personal trainer. I said, Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, Why? The accountability.
Right.
Every morning
See,
I have an appointment.
you just touched on something for me, man. That has been a nerve of mine. It hit a nerve, and I work a 9 to 5 outside of doing this podcast. And the thing that I've noticed, even in my own corporation, I'm not going to bring up the name, but there is a lack of accountability from employees and from management. There's no, and that's one of the, and they don't seem to recognize that as being one of their biggest problems in the business is the lack of accountability. Um, so, and then the other part of it is the motto is to think like an owner. That's the flavor of the month statement to say. But my problem is this: if you've never been a business owner, how do you know how to think like one?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you're cascading
Hey,
this down to your employees. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
So how are they supposed to relate to that?
And Craig, I hear another statement, you want a family type environment.
Right,
That's dangerous because everybody's family a little different.
right,
Right? And so you might say that to the wrong person. They say, "Oh, you
right,
want a family environment?" Because me and
right.
my brother cuss each other out on a regular basis. You know what I'm
Exactly,
saying? Just
exactly.
hypothetically. So, here's what I learned about companies and these smart executives making all the money, sometimes the coolest. You win with culture.
Hmm.
That's how you win. If you think about Chick-fil-A,
A
that's a culture.
diversified culture.
A unified, diversified culture wins big. In sports, we call it the locker room.
Yes,
That's what we call it. And you and I
yes,
both know if your locker room ain't right, you ain't about to win no championship.
correct,
Your
cor-
locker room is the culture of your team. And
correct.
companies, when I got out of sports and got into business, they kept talking about culture, culture, culture. And it was just like cliche. And I was like, oh, I get it now. They talking about the locker room vibe.
Hmm.
If your
That's
locker
right.
room ain't right, if your locker room ain't right, if I'm an executive, let me tell you something. What we do, this is our secret weapon. We come in and strengthen your culture. And
Hmm.
that's how you make more money.
Exactly. Because by
That's how you reduce turnover.
having a diversified culture or a locker room, let's just call it that. Think about it. You have different people coming from different backgrounds,
Yeah,
different life experiences, and you're
yep,
bringing that all together to work as one unit.
right,
And you're able to have different perspectives, right,
yep,
on how to
yep,
solve problems, how to meet the challenge that you're facing.
right, right. And I'll give you one example why diversity is not just something like the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity is the smart thing to do.
Correct.
Because when you have a diverse organization with people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different perspectives, man, it can make your organization fantastic. It can
Exactly.
make your organization dynamic. So, for example, you and I grew up in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that we always had to be concerned with when you grow up in Chicago is safety.
Yes.
Safety is a big part of growing up in Chicago. Man,
Mm-hmm.
there was a big development in Minneapolis. It was $1 billion development right downtown Minneapolis. And my wife and I got excited. It was a high end, it was called Block E. It
Mm-hmm.
was high end and it was attracting high end consumers. Craig, when they opened up the door, I noticed a bus sign right in front of the front door,
Hmm.
a bus sign for public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my wife and I was like, they just ruined this $1 billion investment.
Mm.
If it's a high end facility, why would you put a public bus stop in front of a high-end facility? It should not have been a bus stop. It should have been a valet stand.
Mm.
Block E, within 3 years, was bankrupt because the high-end consumer did not want to come downtown because they did not feel safe because all kind of element was hanging around the front door because of the bus stop.
Small things like that, small details like that can bring a company
Craig,
down.
if I'm on that committee, I'd have changed that. I said, look, dude, Minneapolis is like a little bit of a miniature Chicago now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, let's put a valet stand here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
let's run that bus stop about 5 blocks up the street.
Right.
So people who are using public transportation won't loiter around the front door.
Right.
And I'm like,
Right.
nobody thought about this?
Right.
Probably not, because I'm assuming the committee was not diverse.
Right.
$1 billion investment went
Wow.
belly up in large part because of one bus sign that probably cost $50.
Wow.
But
Wow.
inner city environments would have commonly
Would
said,
have
no, a
picked up
valet
on that.
stand should go there,
Yeah.
not a bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one example that I noticed in just paying attention to where I live. That
Mm-hmm.
was an epic failure. And in that case, diversity ruined $1 billion investment when it could have been a great opportunity. Grow up poor. The saying is that the lack is the mother of invention.
Mm-hmm.
And companies talk about being innovative and efficient. But if you don't have any poor people, or people who came from a poor background, man, you go to poor communities, they use everything. Nothing goes to waste. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a bunch of people who didn't grow up in poverty and you say be efficient, they don't really understand what you're saying.
Right.
When they say be innovative and use what you got, sometimes they don't get it.
Right.
You tell a person who grew up in poverty to be efficient, got it. Easy. I grew up like that. My
Mm-hmm.
mama threw nothing away.
Right.
I remember growing
Exactly.
up, my grandparents would
Yeah.
save every little chip of soap.
Mm-hmm.
You put it into a jar. It would be
Mm-hmm.
Irish Spring, Dial, Dove, everything. That little bitty chip of soap. There was a jar in the bathroom at my grandmother's house. You threw that little bitty chip of soap in there. And when it got full, my grandmother would go in the kitchen, put it into a pot, melt it down, and create more soap out of
Wow.
little bitty chips of soap. A
Awesome.
lot of people would just throw that little chip of soap away. No, 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 not in my house. But my
Yeah.
parents and my grandparents grew up poor in the South, and you wasted nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where diversity, guys, is such a rich opportunity for companies to thrive
Mm-hmm.
if they really understand that diversity is not politically correct. Diversity is smart.
Right. Absolutely right. I love that story about your grandma and the soap. It kind of dovetails into my next venture with this podcast. Is I'm gonna get into uh, wealth management and money management for people because I think that that is very important right now. And one of the first things that I want to emphasize to the audience is pay yourself first when you get your paycheck. I don't care if it's $5, $10. It's sort of like that piece of soap your grandma used to put in a jar. You put that away, put that piece of your paycheck away, and let it accumulate and don't touch it. And then from there, we'll get into how to invest it and make it grow. But enough about that. That's another episode, another series altogether. Let's talk about this event, man. You're coming to Dallas April 5th. So talk a little bit about the event, what people who attend can expect to get out of it.
Well, again, another thing that I learned in sports is that there's winners, there's losers, and there's champions,
Mm,
right? And I just did some data research today for small business owners. But there's a lot of losers out here. I mean,
mm,
there's stats that within the first year, 20% fail.
mhm,
Within, like 3 years, 45% fail. And
mhm,
after 10 years, something like 80% of small business owners fail,
mm,
which means there's not a lot of companies that's really a winning bid, right? And so if you launch a small business or have a small business, you can relate to what I'm talking about. And
mhm,
you have a choice to be a winner, a loser, or a champion. When I think about champions like the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid has cultivated a championship culture everywhere he goes. So why?
mhm,
Because he knows how to build culture. When I think
mhm,
about Nick Saban, everywhere he goes, he cultivates a championship culture. So if you're
mhm,
going to be a small business owner that's going to be successful, you need to know what you don't know and learn how to build a champion's culture. So we created a roadmap because there's a lot of small business owners who I love. They're courageous, right? They cash in their 401k. They run lines of credits on their home. They
mhm,
go for it.
mhm,
But if they don't understand the challenges and the problems to winning big, in many cases, they lose it all because they just don't know what they don't know.
mm,
And here's how I set this up. My rookie year, I played for the Dallas Mavericks. We won
mm,
13 games,
mhm,
one of the worst teams in the history of the NBA. But when I look back on it, it was culture.
mm,
I left Dallas and played for the Utah Jazz and played for the legendary coach, Jerry Sloan.
mhm,
We were winners,
mhm,
and it was a totally different culture.
mhm,
But for 5 days, Craig, I worked out with the Chicago Bulls right after a championship. And my agent was like, work out with the Bulls while I figure this thing out. And we're going to choose between Utah and Chicago. So I'm working out with the Bulls, Craig, out at the practice facility. And man, when you leave the Dallas Mavericks, who were losing at the time, and walk right into a championship culture,
mhm,
it was like night and day. And it was all culture.
mm,
All Phil Jackson talked about as they taught us the triangle offense was, man, when Mike shows up, it's time to get to work. When Mike shows up, nobody leaves early. When
mm,
Mike shows up, everyone executes. And we were learning the triangle offense. And it was when Mike shows up, when Mike shows up. And it was clear to me that when Michael Jordan and the vets get here, it's time to go to work on another championship. That's
mm,
the goal. And my agent called me, Craig, and says, hey, man, I got good news. I got the deal done. Pack your bags. We're going to Salt Lake City. And all of a sudden, I was like deflated, kind of like, man, I'm kind of vibing with this culture. He was like,
mhm,
but Walt, Utah gave us more money. So long story short, I left Chicago after 5 days. I went out to Utah and played 2 years. But for those 5 days in Chicago, it was obvious to me that culture is everything.
wow,
In Dallas, we were negative, critical, low expectations. I'm signing a contract. The director of player personnel was, hey, Walter, we're going to lose and we're going to lose a lot. It's going to be a long season. We haven't even started training camp. That was his mentality.
mhm,
And guess what? He gave us permission to lose. And the culture was negative, critical, toxic, low expectations. And I left there. When I played in Utah, we were winners, man.
mhm,
Stockton, Malone, I mean, playoffs, we were winners.
right,
But we never talked about championship. For
mm,
5 days in my whole NBA career, Craig, it became painfully obvious to me that organizations are either going to have a winning culture, a losing culture, or a champions culture. And we created what we call the champions roadmap.
okay,
And all the champions roadmap is for our smart clients like Jersey Mike Subs, for our smart clients, and Jersey Mike's is the hottest brand in franchising right now.
mhm,
We've been working with them for 8 years. We have a casino in Oklahoma, and we helped them create the highest customer satisfaction scores ever. And it was all based on culture. So we created a system to come in and strengthen and energize a culture because you're going to win with culture. I talked about Chick-fil-A. That's a culture. Talk
mhm,
about Target. That's a culture. And
mhm,
so if you have high turnover, you got a culture problem.
right,
If you're just winning and not breaking out the pack and becoming the leader, that's a cultural problem. You might be winning, but you're not even positioned to be a champion. And so a lot
mm,
of our clients, Craig, when they get a hold of our system as they learn it, man, they're just like, oh my God, like, dude, we've been winning for decades, but we didn't even know how to become a champ. And so we curated and built this whole system that we can take a winner and turn them into a champion.
Mm.
Now, we still will work with organizations that have a losing culture, a lot more painful, a lot more frustrating. I'm almost thinking about like, you know what? I don't even know if that's our perfect avatar, but we can surely get our hands on a winner and turn them into a champion. We have a client in Madison, Wisconsin. They do 350 million and they want us to take them to 2.2. It's a 5-year run. And right now we've taken them through the first and second step of
Mm-hmm.
our champions roadmap and instant results already.
Mm.
They're already like, oh my God, just already. And we have 12 modules. We just did module 2 this week. And already the owner is like, yep, yep, yep. This is what we needed. Thank you so much. And the whole organization is already bought in and on the path to becoming a champion.
So, Walter, tell me this: how do you change a culture, a toxic culture, so to speak? Isn't it like turning the Titanic? How do you, if it's been embedded for years, almost to the point of being a tradition, how do you turn that around?
Easy. Again, it's cultural and it starts at the top.
Okay.
We had a client and they hired us to come in and talk to their middle managers about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And this one became painfully obvious to me that the leaders of an organization cultivate the culture. And
Mm-hmm.
we just wrote a book called Cultivate, the 6 non-negotiables of a winning team. And so we learned through this client that you can't even really start in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start at the top,
Okay.
right? You get in the shower, the shower runs on your head, then it drifts down the rest of your body for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this group, we coached their managers on leadership, how to be great leaders. After about a year or two, Craig, they started coming to us and saying, man, our executives need to come in here and be a part of this seminar because they're not doing this. They're not communicating like this.
Right.
They're not building confidence like this. So we were strengthening their middle managers, but the
Mm-hmm.
leaders wouldn't come in the ballroom because they were not accountable themselves. In
Mm-hmm.
their mind, come in there, Walt, and teach our people what to do. We're fine. And so as a result, we got the middle managers strong. And the only thing that really happened with this organizations, the middle managers realized their executives were idiots. And so to answer your question, to change a toxic culture,
I'm laughing because I can relate to that.
I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it
Oh.
is. So bad leaders sometimes don't even know they're bad. And
Right.
they mean well, but in many cases, if you don't know how to lead, you don't know how to lead. If you don't know how to
Right.
coach, you don't know how to coach. And the
They're
way I
just
look at
imitating the
leaders,
management style that they got. That's all they're
thank you.
doing.
And they're
Hmm.
perpetuating dysfunction, they're perpetuating bullying, they're
Right.
perpetuating dysfunction. And many cases, that's what they learn.
Right. Because if you keep that going, then that keeps you on top, and you're not exposed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you don't know what you don't know. But the beauty of it, man, when you get exposed to a different culture,
Hmm.
man, you
Hmm.
know it. And it should be experiential.
Yep.
And the beauty of having multiple different jobs, you experience multiple different cultures,
Yes.
and you should be able to identify over time, like, why did I love that culture? Why did I hate that culture? So
Hmm.
why did I hate the Dallas Mavericks? Why did I love the Utah Jazz? Why am I fanatical about 5 days in Chicago?
Hmm.
Because I got a chance to experience the culture. And
Right.
one of my biggest regrets, Craig, was walking away from an opportunity to play for a champion
Mm.
for a little bit more money.
Mm. All money ain't good money.
Well, and it was a learning experience for me, but the
Yeah.
beauty of it is positioning me to be the ultimate thought leader in training and development. I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker because of that experience.
That's
And I
true.
can speak with confidence to small businesses with 10 people, 1,000 people. Doesn't matter how big your organization is. I can come in and we can help you transform your organization because I am thoroughly confident because we're seeing the results with corporate clients.
Hmm.
I learned it in the sports arena, but it totally transfers to the business environment. And
Hmm.
so that's what we've done. My company comes into companies who want to get more, and we teach them how to do it because they just don't know what they don't know. So we are really turning winners into champions.
Okay. So folks that come to this event, they're gonna receive they're going to have you go through this roadmap, right?
Yes.
Um, Anything else that they'll be able to take away from this meeting?
When they walk away with us, my wife is going to be there as well. We're going to have a special guest, Russell Maryland,
Yep.
who was the number one pick in the NFL draft in
I remember
1992.
Russell. Yep.
And you're talking about a guy who's not highly recruited. He had one scholarship offer to Indiana State. And all of a sudden, his dad said, nope, we're not going there. And in the midnight hour, Miami Hurricanes came in and gave him a scholarship. And he went down there as an afterthought
Hmm.
and became the number one pick in the NFL.
Right.
Why? Culture.
Right.
He said,
That's.
man, I got to Miami and I learned how to become a hurricane.
Hmm.
Think about what I just said.
Hmm.
You took a guy with limited opportunities and he got in the right culture and became the number one pick in the NFL. Won
Mm.
2 national championships in college, won 3 Super Bowls, the ultimate champion, number one pick in the whole draft. Why? Because of culture.
Hmm.
And so, Craig, I'm telling you, man, if anybody will just listen, I got you. Right. So if you're a small business owner, we can lay and teach you the roadmap of how to build a championship organization. All you
Hmm.
have to do is execute. Don't even think about it. Don't second guess it. We tested this. We've done the research. We did beta. Man, Jersey Mike's, for example, I stood on their national stage 8 years ago and I taught them the first phase of our champions roadmap. And I'm gonna give this away. I'm gonna give this away for free. You cannot be a champion until you become intentional on being a champion.
Mm.
The Chicago Bulls had an audacious goal. It was clear to me in 5 days that anything less than a championship is a disappointing season.
Mm.
When I was in Utah, we didn't even talk championship.
Wow.
When I was in Dallas, we didn't even talk playoffs.
Hmm.
We were just playing ball and working hard. We had no goal.
Wow.
So the first thing you must do to really synergize your culture is you must have an audacious goal.
Hmm.
And we'll teach companies how to create an audacious goal, the
Hmm.
characteristics of an audacious goal. And if you don't know how to create an audacious goal, you'll never be a champ.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, man, we have business leaders with their mouths wide open, been in
Well,
business 10 years, 15 years, literally looking at us like this is simple but brilliant. And it makes so much freaking sense. And that's just the start of
mhm.
really transforming your culture.
So Walt, with this transformation of culture, let me ask you this, because a lot of senior leaders are, they're in their maybe 40s, 50s, and 60s, but now you have this new generation, Gen Z and millennials. How do they communicate? Do you go into how they can communicate and relate to that generation?
Yeah, they're human,
Hmm.
right? They're human. And we kind of give that too much, energy,
Mm.
this generation, right? When you and I grew up, our parents had said the same thing.
Right.
Boy, when I was your age, I had to cut wood, I had to do chores, I had to milk the cows and then walk to
Right.
school 3 miles
Right.
each way. And our parents looked at us like we just didn't understand.
Yeah,
We
but
didn't get it.
this new generation, they it's more like satisfaction now. They want it now.
Yeah. I mean, they're microwave mentality. You and I grew up around crock pots,
Right.
right? And there is some difference. They have technology, but if we focus on what's different about them, we miss the whole thing that makes us similar.
Mm. But
They
again,
still need a goal.
it goes to that diversity, right? If you include them in the process, the-
Absolutely. And if you
yeah.
communicate the goal, here's what we all have to understand. We are all inherently selfish.
Hmm.
When I wake up in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, and these younger people, they grew up in the whole cell phone, social media age. It's
Hmm.
all about me. I got to post about my life. I'm gonna show you a picture of my dog and my house and my car and what I'm doing today. So their generation has been really conditioned to be me, 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 I. And most people are selfish anyway, but that younger generation is almost a whole nother level of selfish. And it's not even all their fault. They've been trained and conditioned to only think about me. But here's the good news. NBA players can be the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about my contract. I'm thinking about my minutes. I need to get my shots. I need to build my career. I need to make my money. My. So the only way you can get all of these selfish people to unify, it starts with the goal.
Mm.
And that's why a great coach like Nick Saban and Phil Jackson and Andy Reid, they have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to get all of these selfish superstars to buy in to the team goal.
Right.
Now you look, this millennial is nothing when you compare it to a guy who can make 30 million a year.
It's true.
They got every reason to be selfish as an NFL player. So Andy Reid and the great coaches can get these multi-million dollar people who are already making millions and have the chance to make more. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
to buy in to the team. So you can get this millennial to buy in, the Gen X, the Gen Zs, but you got to have an audacious goal. And if you don't have an audacious goal, they got nothing to buy in the first place.
Mm. That is
So if you're
awesome.
going to build a championship organization and build a strong culture, the first thing you got to do is build an amazing goal
Mm-hmm.
and then slowly learn how to get them to buy in. Because if you can get 100 people, 200 people, 5,000 people, all to be focused on the same goal, whether it's 300 million, 2 billion, whether it's becoming number one. And what I said on Jersey Mike's stage 8 years ago, when they were a cute little regional brand out of New Jersey, I said, man, I got a guy cutting my grass right now. Give me 1 second. Can you hear that noise, that humming?
Mm-mm.
You can't hear it. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I told them, let's go kick Subway's butt. Let's go kick Subway's butt. When I said it, Peter Ken-Crow, the founder, looked at me and got uncomfortable, kind of like, "Ooh," like, man, because they had never really thought about competing with Subway.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you what happened. It's like I gave them permission. By just saying it,
They just had to hear it.
I gave them permission.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, let's go compete with Subway. Why not?
What you say? I didn't stutter, utter, or mutter. Let's...
Exactly. But at the moment, Craig,
Yeah.
they were content being winners. They were
Yeah.
happy being winners.
Yeah.
But I gave them audacity to think bigger than that and to really think about, let's go out and be number one. And right
Yeah.
now, Jersey Mike's is the hottest franchise in the game, opening up 300 stores a year. Subway is closing stores.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be clear, kingdoms rise and fall all the time.
That's
You
right.
remember Radio Shack?
Yes, sir.
You remember
Circuit
Blockbuster?
City. Yeah.
Come on. BlackBerry,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just saw a report that Uber is shutting down in Minneapolis.
Really?
Yes, yes. And now, there's a whole story behind why, but let me be clear. Kingdoms rise and fall all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I said, let's go kick Subway's butt, it gave them all a vision. And now my wife and I go to their conference every year and walk around like rock stars. And all I did really is gave them a taste of the Champions Roadmap
Yeah.
and say,
But
man, we got to start with an audacious goal.
as athletes, we embrace competition and being competitive. And now if you haven't had that experience, it may not resonate with you until it's that experience is brought to you, right? Until you become part of it. Somebody else is leading that has that kind of experience to get you fired up and generate that fire in your belly, right? That
Right, right,
gotta have that fire in your belly to say, yeah,
right.
let's do this. So, well, man, so let's give the dates of the event and where and what time.
Absolutely. April 5th. And I have a link I just put into the chat
Okay, yeah,
that
I'll put
people
that
can
in the
use.
description.
Yeah, they can use that link to sign up.
Okay,
We only have 6 slots left, which is exciting.
I'll be there.
It's going to be in Fort Worth, at a Chamber of Commerce location. All the address and details are in the link.
Okay,
But this is our first one. We're launching because we've been doing B2B business.
okay,
But my wife and I, who are small business owners, I mean, it's 10 of us, right? So our heart is really for small business owners.
right.
And the thought was America kind of thrives on the small business owner and the leader and the achiever. I mean, the Champions Roadmap works for individuals and it also works for organizations because for an individual to be successful, you have to have an individual audacious goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the next phase two of our roadmap is what we call shared fate. What does that mean? It's self-explanatory, shared fate. In
Mm-hmm.
order to be a champion, every employee must share and the outcome, shared fate. And I
Mm-hmm.
love the NCAA tournament in March Madness because everyone on the team shares an outcome. I
Right.
mean, the cheerleaders, if you lose, cry, the players cry, the fans cry, everybody. What happened? We lost. But
Right.
if you win, the cheerleaders are happy, the players are happy, the coaches are happy, the parents are happy, the whole town of Syracuse is happy, or whatever. That's what the March Madness energy is. It's shared fate. Either we won and advanced, or we lost and we're done.
Mm-hmm.
That is the energy you need inside of a company.
Right.
Shared fate. And a lot of
Absolutely.
business leaders make two fatal mistakes. They don't have an audacious goal, and they don't have a clue how to get everyone to buy in.
Mm.
Honestly, if we have 12 steps in our module. Those first two, if you learn how to set audacious goals that are challenging but achievable,
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn how to do it. We teach our clients how to create an audacious goal, but then you have to communicate it to your entire team and then get them to buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a process. But again, a lot of our executives of mid-sized companies, small companies, have no clue how to do it. And so we
Right.
created this champions roadmap to teach them how. So any small business owner, if you believe you're meant for more and you're stuck, you're stagnant, we built this for you because
Mm-hmm.
you need to get your business on the fast track because speed is power and the number and the percentages of failures for small businesses is staggering and it's scary. And if you're out here on your own, just kind of competing and don't really know what you don't know, you run the risk of failing,
Mm-hmm.
even though you ran a line of credit on your house. You
Right.
cashed in your 401k. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a few champions in every industry. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Why can't
Ab-
you be the champ?
That's true. Why
There's
not
a lot
me?
of boxers.
Why not
Hey, look,
me?
why not me? And Craig, there's a lot of boxers, but Ali was a champ.
That's right.
There's a lot of fighters, but Ali was a champ. A lot of basketball teams, but the Bulls were the champ, right?
That's right.
There's a lot of football teams, but in
But Chiefs are the
1985,
champs. Right.
that's right. In 85, the Chicago Bears were the champ
Mm-hmm.
for that year,
And we will
right?
be again next year.
Well, you know what? Hey, listen, I got a buddy coming to Chicago who's the president named Kevin Warren,
Okay.
and he's a genius. And I'm very confident, at the very least, he's going to turn the Bears into a winner
Okay.
because he knows how to do it. He
Mm-hmm.
he he was a commissioner of the Big Ten,
Right.
and he's the one that got UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington to come to the Big Ten. So Kevin Warren is a peer, and he's a bad boy. That's another success principles people don't understand. Walter, man, I talked to a lot of my former teammates who haven't progressed from their basketball careers.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, dude, you like hit it big in business. How'd you do it? I changed my fellowship and I
Mm-hmm.
changed my identity.
You
I
know,
changed my fellowship and I changed my identity. I am not a ball player. I'm a business advisor.
there you
I don't
go.
hang out with ball players anymore. I hang out with really successful business people. I changed my identity and I changed my environment. I can have a whole workshop on that.
Wow. You know, when we were talking before we started the session here, I was telling you the story about my son and how he walked away from his college scholarship, $400,000 college scholarship. And one of the biggest reasons why he walked away was because of the culture of the team. They had a losing mentality. He was used to winning in high school. And he lost his passion because the culture was of a losing mentality. And he and just like you said, he changed his environment. He found himself again, found his passion, and now he's thriving. And he told me the other day that a lot of his ex teammates contact him because he posts on Instagram and this, that, and the other, his different accomplishments that he's had since he's left. But they tell him all the time that they thought he was crazy and stupid for walking away from the team, and now he's doing better than all of them after college.
Well, the truth is any organization that has high turnover,
Mm-hmm.
has apathy, poor performance, that's a cultural issue.
Mm-hmm.
And when the culture's not right, but you want me to go and spend 8 hours a day there,
Right.
the culture's not right. And you want me to let you run the crap out of me. And I'm over here sweating and vomiting and, pushing my body to the limit. And I don't enjoy being here.
Correct.
I mean, that's sabotage,
That's true. That's true.
right? And so any losing organization, you're gonna have the same characteristics. So whether it's sports or business, you're gonna have high turnover, you're gonna have apathy, you're gonna have people who quit, you're gonna
Hmm.
have people who are frustrated, you're gonna have people who are angry, you're gonna have people who check out. And
Hmm.
quietly quitting was a term for a long time.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's all it means is like this culture is bad and I need the
Hmm.
money, but just to preserve my own mental health, I'm checking out.
Right.
Because I can't carry around this place because y'all crazy.
Right. Right.
And that's just real talk, Craig.
That
That's just real
is.
talk.
That's
What
very
should
true.
happen, man, I love my company. I love what we stand for. I love coming to work. I love what we do.
Hmm.
I love our results. I love and respect my teammates. Man, I love this experience. I love being here. That's what you hear about champions for the most
Hmm.
part. For the most part, that's what you hear from champions.
Hmm.
And the choice is yours, but it starts with the leader. And if you're a small business owner, our champions roadmap is a no-brainer.
Mm.
I share two at a high level without going too much detail
Right.
of what the roadmap is. And you don't have to disagree. You
Hmm.
don't have to challenge. It is going to make so much sense because we've done the homework, we've done the research. I checked against the sports experience I had. I tested against this business experience we've had for 23 years. I've been in the business world longer than basketball.
Mm.
So I know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
And we tested it and we've had individuals get results. We
Hmm.
had one guy named Bill Resnick. Bill Resnick heard me speak, individual. We have programs for individuals. He
Hmm.
heard me speak and he was frustrated. He didn't like his career. He wasn't getting enough respect. He didn't have enough influence. He needed to make more money. And he was struggling. He was
Hmm.
just kind of like, I'm here, but I'm numb.
Right.
Man, he signed up for our coaching program, got into our system. Bill Resnick doubled his salary in 12 months.
Mm.
Now he's an executive,
Hmm.
and Bill Resnick hired me himself to come speak for his new company
Wow. That's
because he
awesome.
knew he knew what I did for him as an individual through our coaching platform and our coaching methodologies.
Hmm.
Man, we're really able to help individuals who want more and just don't know how to get it.
Right.
We're able to help companies who want more and they just don't know how to get it. And
Right.
so, as a business advisor, my job is to help you win your championship.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now, brother. First of all, I will be in attendance on April 5th for your event, and I will be in touch with you regarding the Motivational Speakers Academy that you have, because that's on my bucket list of things to do for myself at this point. So
Well, hey,
I,
man, we got a system for that.
I know you do. All right.
We got a system for that.
Well, man, thanks again. I've been looking forward to doing this interview with you for a long time. Let me ask you this: a couple of months ago, you had reached out to me. You were in Chicago to do something, and I'm just curious. You were doing an event there. I'm just curious. What made you decide to reach out to me then?
Reach out to you.
Yeah,
Well, we network, man.
because I
And one
wasn't in
thing,
Chicago.
yeah, but you was at a Chicago area code. What's your cell number?
Okay.
You have
Well,
right.
because
So what?
the reason why I asked Walt is because I don't believe in coincidences. Okay,
Well,
I think there's a reason for everything, and I think
yeah,
that at the time you didn't even know I had a podcast. That's when I
right.
let
I
you.
didn't. I didn't. I
That's why I
didn't.
let you know that I did. That's why I said
Yes,
there's a
right.
reason for everything.
That's
Things don't
true.
just
That's true.
happen, and now
That's
look at
true.
us now. Okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I'm a fake person, man. And I
Yes,
think
sir.
that a lot of times, people are in your lives for a reason. Our families have been connected for a long time.
Right.
I mean, we're going back to the 80s, right?
Right.
I used to come over to your house
Yep.
and me and your brother would cook pizza and drink beer and ride around in your dad's
Y'all was drinking beer,
van.
man.
And
Y'all wasn't old enough to drink
man,
beer.
come on, Craig. You knew we were getting our drink on. You
Is
knew
that
that.
where my beer was going?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what you did in Chicago. We were 16, 17, walking right in the liquor store buying beer, and but Rodney Mack, your brother, was my boy and we just hung out and
Yeah.
we're good kids. We didn't mean any harm, but
Right.
we just hung out at your house making pizzas and watching TV and just enjoying life and dreaming.
Yes.
and now Rodney's doing great and
Mm-hmm.
successful. And, my parents really taught us to hang around good people,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yes.
me and your brother started hanging out. We had a lot in common, both loved basketball, about the same size, had the same value system, came from two-parent family,
Mm-hmm.
lived around the corner. We
Mm-hmm.
had a lot in common. And so my final point is one thing I teach individuals. When I played in the NBA, Craig, I hung out with NBA ball players.
Mm-hmm.
I worked out with NBA ball players. So around Chicago, you had Tim Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Kendall Gill. You could go and work out with other NBA ball players.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left sports, I realized that iron sharpens iron. And so the first thing we did, we joined a country club to get around other successful business people.
Mm-hmm.
And that fellowship was rich.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest development opportunities for me is when I got around successful business people. So
Mm-hmm.
since I retired from pro basketball, we have always belonged to country clubs.
Hmm. Wow.
Why? Because iron sharpens iron.
That's true. That's true.
And a lot of my peers I talk to, who are my teammates, who still struggle, they never change their environment.
Mm. Wow.
Nobody wants a 50-year-old ball player.
Right.
Now you can become a coach. There's some jobs in the basketball industry, but
Sure.
for the most part, if you're not going to stay in the basketball industry that can position yourself to make some good money, you got to move on and get a new
Mm-hmm.
identity. So now I'm a business advisor.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see myself. I am no longer a basketball player. That guy died a long time ago.
Right.
Now I'm a business advisor. And one of my teammates, Willie Burton, heard me doing a seminar. He was like, dude, like, you know how to talk that talk. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, like he had never seen me do my thing.
Right.
And he was just like, dude, like the way you talk now is like totally
Yeah.
different than how I'm a business advisor and I've been around business people every day, all day.
You
So I
speak the
guess I picked up
language.
the quote. I speak, and that's what community does. It impacts your language. If you live in Jamaica, you're going to speak what? With a Jamaican accent. If you
Mm-hmm.
live in London, you're going to speak with an English accent. If you live in the business community, you're going to create a business accent. And
Mm-hmm.
so my friends, and it's not too late. They have to change their environment.
Right.
And
I
anyone
agree
who
with
wants
you.
to get to their next level has to get in the environment that can help them get to their next level.
Wow. Wow. Well, man, this was some really good stuff, man, that you've shared with us. And I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks when you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And again, I encourage everyone. He only got 6 slots left. You better get
Six
on it.
slots.
I'm gonna put it in the link here, and I'm gonna post this. So, first come, first serve. Jump on it.
That's it. That's it. Let's go and learn how to be a champ.
That's
Those
right.
5 days in Chicago, I get it. And those 2 years in Utah, I played for a winner,
Hmm.
but I saw the subtle difference in a champ. And we've created a business methodology that whoever wants to be a champ, they can become a champ. And we'll teach them how.
Yes, sir. Well, all right. Well, we're gonna end it with that. And again, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And I will see you in a couple of weeks, my man.
God bless you, my brother.